system. And you know, if you go into a quiet state, and you can do this if you work at it, you can literally observe your own thoughts. You know, the chatter in the head never stops. You know, you go into a quiet space. What did I say? And we take that to be us. But you can go into these states of awareness where you literally just move back and observe your own thoughts, and you can listen to them, and you can observe them and going, it's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. What are you doing? But then the question comes, what's observing those thoughts? The real you. What are those thoughts? The software program. And what the system has done, systematically, is to get us to identify, confuse who we really are with the software personalities that we're given. And so, when you start to break out of the software dominance, and you move your point of observation beyond the program into the realms of true consciousness, then those who are still running the program thinking it's them, they're going to think you are insane or dangerous or ridiculous, because they literally cannot compute through the software what they're doing, what you're saying rather. And so this is what the awakening is that I was told about 22 years ago. It's breaking open the mind to move your point of observation from the software program into levels of our awareness that are beyond the software program. And at that point, you can see what the software program is actually there for us not to see, which is all the things that are going on around us that we don't connect, we don't think are possible, because the software program is telling us what to believe. And then it goes to the next level, because as these pieces in the puzzle started going into this direction, you have the software program running through the human body computer, if you like, which we take to be us. And that's incidentally why, you know, if you type data into a computer and then you press enter, you pretty much know, well, you bloody well know what that computer's going to do, because it's programmed to do it. In response to that data, press enter. Wherever you go in the world, and you watch people in different situations, i.e. the situation being the data on the computer, then you press enter, i.e. the response of people to that situation. All over the world, invariably, you will see people of different cultures and what have you react in the same way, usually through emotional responses in the same way. Why? We live in infinite possibility. There are infinite possibilities to react to that situation, but the same ones keep recurring. Why? The same reason. And so there's that, but there's also what I call the hack, which is that this force that is behind human suppression and behind the apparently human families that are behind the suppression in the world that we live in, has created a fake reality. It's hacked into the information construct of the universe, this part of it anyway. And it has created a fake reality which is being fed to us. I think the moon's involved in this. As I go into in the latest book, Remember Who You Are, Saturn is big time involved in this. And pennies started to drop when I was writing this latest book particularly, of why, as people have been pointing out for years, researchers, that Saturn symbolism is everywhere. When you look at it, courts, governments, secret societies, Saturn symbolism everywhere. So you say, why? Why is Saturn symbolism everywhere? And then you realize the impact of Saturn And you start to realize why these secret societies and governments and everything, and society in general, the structure of it, the authorities of it, are obsessed with Saturn symbolism. And it's like we should be decoding a much wider range of information, i.e. Decoding a much wider range of information into our experienced reality. But this hack, in conjunction with this genetic manipulation, has put us in a tiny, tiny frequency range, which people don't realize how tiny it is. The electromagnetic spectrum, according to mainstream science, is, some people say, about 0.005% of what exists in this universe in mass and matter. Some people say it's a bit more, but not much. Visible light, which is the only frequency range that we can decode into a reality we can see, is a fraction of the 0.005%. People think when they look out their eyes that they're seeing everything that exists in the space that they're observing. No, no. They're experiencing a tiny band of frequency, and all the rest of the universe and multiverses and infinity in general is all sharing the same space. Space is an illusion too, really, that I'm sitting in, and it's all existing in this space. But because this is programmed to only decode this narrow band of frequencies we call visible light, this is the only band that I can see. And thus, when people talk about the paranormal and all that stuff, and ghosts and things appearing and disappearing, well, they haven't appeared and disappeared. But if they enter our frequency range, we decode them. It appeared out of nowhere, and then it leaves our frequency range. We can't decode it anymore. It disappeared in front of my eyes. No, it didn't. You ceased to be able to decode it because it left the frequency range you can decode. So once you realize this, all this paranormal stuff becomes perfectly explainable.
So what we call extraterrestrial actually is not extra anything, because it's just sharing our own reality on different dimensions, on different levels.
Yeah, I prefer to use the term interdimensionals for that reason. And this force that I'm saying is manipulating our world operates overwhelmingly outside of the frequency range that we can decode, because that's its state, that's its vibrational state. Basically, that's what you're vibrating to, you experience. I mean, it's like a radio. If you tune it to radio 1, your experience is radio 1, because that's the frequency you're tuned to. Move the dial to radio 2, now your experience is radio 2. But if you're on radio 2, you cannot experience radio 1. It's a different frequency. It's real simple that way. And so to manipulate our reality, this force, which very much takes a reptilian form, among others, but actually in the end goes out of the realms of form into realms of pure awareness. It needs to manipulate our world. It needs people, if you like, human body computers within this frequency range, so it can manipulate us by controlling the banking system and all this stuff. And thus, this is where these hybrid bloodlines come from, which the ancients all over the world talked about, the creation of these hybrid bloodlines. And these hybrid bloodlines became known in the ancient world as the demigods, part human, part gods, as they were perceived, because there was a genetic creation which in one level has human genetics, but has a massive infusion of reptilian genetics. And these are the bloodlines that run the banking system, the political system, own the media, and all that stuff. And this is where the whole theme of royalty comes from, an aristocracy. The idea of the divine right to rule, which is what? The right to rule over people because of your genetics. I mean, 2 hours from here in London, We have a head of state, Queen Elizabeth, who is only head of state because of her bloodline, or genetics. The ancient Chinese emperors used to claim the right to be emperor because of their genetic connection to the serpent gods, and so on and so forth. It was this hybrid genetics that this whole royalty aristocracy stuff all over the world came from. And when, obviously for a long time, the aristocracy and the royal families of the world ran the show. But then when people started to rebel against that obvious dictatorship, these bloodlines moved, some of them still are, like the British royal family, big time, but they started to move out of overt royalty and aristocracy and into the professions of banking and politics and business and all the rest of it. And they've gone on controlling and manipulating ever since. So they've created a political system that allows them to put into power basically whoever they want now, through this illusion of democracy. But these dark suits are actually, they still perceive themselves, even though it's now covert, as special bloodlines, you know, who are above everyone else. And while some are overtly doing that, like the British royal family, the Spanish royal family, most of them are operating under the radar in society in general, but they're still the ones who are the hybrid representatives of this force, these entities that operate outside of human sight. And just a very quick analogy. When scientists are working with something that's too dangerous, that they can't directly interact with it, you'll see them put the material in a tank. They'll stand outside the tank, and then they'll put these long gloves on to work with the material in the tank. Well, if you take the scientists to be these entities operating outside of human perception, you take the tank to be our reality, and you take the gloves to be these bloodlines that are representatives within this reality of this force. That is basically the dynamic, the association between them.